My name is Pixelotter and this is my first tutorial. So we're going to make a platformer. I've already designed everything and all, so just want to get something out of the way. So you can also use the stage, and instead of a touching sprite block, you can use a touching color block. For example, you can do this, and then you have to point it towards that. So you can also pick whatever color and whatever design you want. So take this guy. So make sure that it's a square though, because I'll explain later. So take the player, and when green flag clicked, do a forever loop. And so let's start from the beginning. Just add a bit of gravity and also pick a position. So take that position, for example. So, and it works, but first of all, it's unrealistic. So let's fix that first. Create a new variable called sy and set it to 0. Change sy by -1 and change y by sy. You can see that this turns it way more realistic because gravity increases faster than the actual distance. So now you can see how the acceleration works. So now let's add some collisions. So if touching level, set sy to 0. So this is the most basic collision, but it's first of all, you can notice that that thing is phasing through. Second, even if it didn't phase through, you could see at this exact moment that it fell through, and you can fix that. So change y by 0 minus sy. So we might have fixed the overlap issue, but there might be a new one. That's the fact that there's a gap and the player has to fall through that. So create a new thing, calling it gets out of level. So this is a good name, so take that. And so make sure you take the run without screen refresh. So now you can see that that still is there. So that's because we're using the wrong technique. What we should do first, organize it a bit more. If touching level, get out of level. Repeat until not touching level. So I decided on a platformer because I wanted, it was my most successful project, a platformer called The Planet of Platformer. I actually decided a bunch of other ideas too. So it works well. So there's a reason why you should do the run without screen refresh. If you turn that on, it goes inwards instead of outwards. But it's the same thing as that other thing, changing y by sy. So now I have to make some jumping mechanics. So if up key pressed, set sy to 12. So now, as you can see, you can jump. Currently you can fly, but that's because you can hold down the up key. There will be restraints added later. So now let's add some xy movement. Create a variable called sx and set it to 0 over here too. Now change x by xsx. So that's a problem. So if you noticed, you can see the thing is flying over it, but that will be a problem later. So now if right arrow key is pressed, set change SX by 1. So now, we'll do that. So now, currently there's no turning back, literally. You cannot turn back, nor can you move at all. Also, you can only jump. You cannot move back, nor does it slow down at all. So let's first add turning back. And now, you're back. Except now you can turn back. Whoa! Yeah, that's a problem. And you crashed into the wall, which causes eternal lag. So the problem is the same problem as the flying thing. It flies, but it's still touching the wall. So, will it fix the flying thing? But first, let's fix eternal lag. Which is surprisingly easy because, sorry, not eternal lag, sorry. Let's fix extreme acceleration because all you have to do, multiply it by a decimal number. The decimal number will decide the slipperiness of your slope. So as you can see, this thing is quite slow. So if you set it to, for example, 0.99995, however, whoa, yeah, it's way too fast. So meanwhile, if you set it to 0.3, you can barely move at all. So 0.8 is actually a good number because, as you can see, the maximum number is around 4. So that's pretty good. So you might want to adjust this value, but for now, this is good. So actually 0.9 seems a bit better because that goes up to -8. So now it's time to fix climbing objects randomly issue. That's an issue which can be fixed quite easily. So first of all, change get out of level to move and add a parameter, steps. So here's the logic. So I got this from a tutorial and I've actually not used any other technique. So set drag mode to draggable and, well, no, hold on. And as you can see, so stop this. So you have to crash. So what we did was we kept moving constantly. Then what we did was we kept going back. But what if instead of that, we moved forward like that? Kept going forward and then moved back to the position where we didn't touch it. That could work. And it does work. So first of all, create a new variable, calling it previous position. So repeat steps times sets previous position to X position. Now, change X by speed X, so remove these two, as we're going to also move with these. So also remove this, the touching level. We will add movement scripts as a separate function. So change X by X divided by steps. So that's because we don't want to move 1 pixel if the steps is not created. Otherwise, you'll move too little. So SX divided by steps. So if touching level sets X position to previous position, and then set SX to 0. So as you can see, the SY is not doing anything, but now the steps are none. Set it to the absolute of SX. So the absolute of SX, why this number? Because this will be equal to SX. But if Sx is negative, it won't bug because often steps often happen. So often what happens when you set it to Sx is it could go back, negative values, and this is the only way to possibly get a negative value into a list, using function parameters or variables. So do the same thing with the y position, except swap all the y's and xy's and all. So as you can see, okay, so as you can see, there might be a small issue, so you can't do anything. So that's because the value is abs of x. So if we set it to absolute of sy, however, so now sy is 0. Actually, it's -1, so yeah, that won't work, but not as great as it was for x. So just add the two values. So the reason why we're adding is quite simple, because the values will both be added, because in one position it'll just be 1. So let's just get this x to cool down and jump. So as you can see, the answer would be 12, for example. So now it's 11. So now it's 11 because now it's 11, because we're jumping. So currently the abs of 11 plus the abs of 0 is 11. But if we're both moving, it's currently the abs of 11 plus the abs of 9, which is 18. And that's actually the amount of steps which we want to go. So it works. And remove these variables. And also remove any kind of unused reporters, clean up blocks, and now, remove that. So now we have a functional platformer. Time to fix the flight bug. So, okay, I'm flying. Whee! But it's a bug, even if it's fun. So, a secondary bug which we might solve, which we will not solve with the flight bug, is that. So, now, create a new variable, in air, question mark. So, this variable checks whether you're in the air. Set in air to 0 over here, change in air by 1. And if you look here, while you're inside the air, it increases. Meanwhile, so if you can see that, but while it's on the ground, it decreases. So move that change in air by 1 to the start of the script. Because for every pixel we want it, for every tick we want it to go. So now, as you can see, the in-air values have become much more manageable now. So over here, put an if, and then if in-air is less than a certain value, say 4. Now, if you can see, you can't fly anymore. So the in-air is also increasing really fast. And the fact is, you can jump and get that eye because in-air increases every tick. Meanwhile, if you set it to a higher number, which you can increase it more. So currently, let's do something like 6. So another thing which we might want to work on is customizability. So as you can see, nothing. But when we add a play screen, we'll be able to customize certain values. Now, pick some values which you want to customize and create them. So for me, start positions will be something else for another tutorial, but if you want, you can customize them. I'll give that as a challenge before the new tutorial about waypoints comes out. I try my start position. So, also, for example, the first limit barrier fix is gravity. And let me just show you that sub bug again. I'm flying. Actually, no, my head is super sticky. So sometimes there are games based on this kind of mechanic, and sometimes it's even a good idea, but in this platformer and in the Planet platformer, I removed it. So, in order to remove it, put that there, so a side effect of that is that it won't recorrect if it goes under it. It'll just stay there. So, yeah. Set in there to 0, so now it's not there. Sy is less than 0. This will make sure that you can't go under that block. So as you can see, it's gone. So gravity. Let's continue with the gravity thing. So set gravity at -1. And so this value should be customizable because you can get some values out of it. Next, friction. Actually, air resistance. So, air resistance is good because it allows for more customization. So air resistance can maybe be 0.9 for now, anyway. So, air resistance times speed x. Next, so acceleration. So this will increase. So this will be the speed at which it increases. 1.5 is good. .5. So now change acceleration and 0 minus acceleration. So you should notice a notable difference because I changed acceleration. So as you can see, you can go a ton faster. So I'm going to reduce the air resistance to 0.7 now. Or 0.89. No, 0.85, yeah. 0.85. That's pretty good. When we're on animations, we might want to slow it down, but for now it looks pretty good, so let's keep it that way. So there are other customizable things, and 2 other ones are jump height and jump limit. And actually it should be called jump control, because this is called, you can either call it limit or control. Jump limit and jump height. So these 2 values are there to limit the jumping abilities. So here's the thing. Jump height is not actually jump height, nor is jump limit or jump control or whatever. These are just numbers. So jump height is 12. So we might want to add some multiplications in order to do this when we add the customizability feature, but this is pretty good for now. So jump limits could be 6 or 7 or 5. So these 2, if in air is less than jump limit, and that. So there's no wall jumping, so it's a bit difficult. Wall jumping will be a feature added. So as you can see, jumping. And now, these are most of the customizable things. So if you want, you can try to find even more besides position, but for now, this is pretty good. We will add other factors such as jump control. Actually, jump limit is the correct one, but jump control. Then there'll be speed, maximum speed, which will be used for the animations in order to make sure that there's going to be frame speed and a bunch of other things. Certain things will depend on the other values. For example, frame speed will also connect to acceleration. So frame speed, acceleration, and maximum speed will all be connected. And all of those. So currently, this is good. Then there's wall jumping. So that's a new dimension, but we'll cover that later. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this customizable thing now, instead of doing it later, is it'll also be universal. So as you can see, these are all unique variables. In air is also a unique variable, but these are not. These are not a unique variable. These actually do stuff. For example, gravity. So say you want to add another sprite, calling it thing. And it'll be like this. So say you want to copy the player's scripts, but you don't want this. And you can also remove that. All of these you can remove, and so now and also change that to a positive value. So as you can see, there's a lot of changes. So as you can see, yeah. I just realized that the move is essential for movement. So put that back. I just removed a few random scripts. So then I say, yeah, this is good. And now so as you can see, it works. So the thing is now controlled like the player. So of course there's a new problem. I want to change the gravity and the acceleration. So before I would have to do like negative 1.5 in both. And the acceleration would have to be like even harder. But now, negative 12 and the acceleration would be 12. So now you can see a lot of values are 12 and the gravity is really low. But as you can see, I've changed it for both, which is pretty good. Of course, we definitely will not be adding one of those. So what we will be adding, however, are Flameons, which will be the main enemy, as this will be like the planet of platformer. Yeah. So, goodbye, and please like and subscribe to see more videos, and don't forget to click the bell in order to get the latest release.